Hi everyone. This is Siddhi. Thank you for joining today's webinar. The topic of the webinar is Shift Gears with Smarter Planning, right? So, we are excited to have leaders from across the auto components and aftermarket industries with us. Today's webinar is focused on auto components, aftermarket industry, and how smarter demand and production planning can improve availability, reduce inventory stress, and bring more predictability into aftermarket operations. So today we have two speakers with us, starting with Ms. Sheetal Yadav. She is COO at Anamind. Sheetal has over 10 years of experience in supply chain planning, working with leading global enterprises, including multiple Fortune 500 companies across industries such as automotive, chemical paints, consumer goods, and pharma. So she has driven end-to-end planning and forecasting transformation that replace manual processes with fast, intelligent planning systems, improve accuracy, and enable data-driven decision making at scale. And we also have Mr. Anand Kumar with us, who is Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Uno Minda. Mr. Anand Kumar is a seasoned automotive leader who heads the sales and marketing function for Uno Minda's aftermarket division. With nearly 2 decades of experience across the automotive industrial understanding and data-led decision making, at Uno Minda he has been instrumental in shaping the company's aftermarket growth story. Over the years, he has led initiatives that strengthen market coverage, accelerated product expansion, and elevated the brand's presence across domestic and international markets. His work spans portfolio strategy, new production introduction, channel performance enhancement, and build scalable system for rapidly growing aftermarket businesses. Before joining Uno Minda, Mr. Anand held impactful roles at Tata Hitachi, JCB, and Tika Industries, where he worked across business strategies, channel development, and market creation for India and global geographies. Today, as Vice President of Sales and Marketing, Mr. Anand Kumar drives Uno Minda's mission to strengthen its leadership in automotive aftermarket through sharper customer focus, innovation-led product strategy, and stronger partnership across the retail and distribution landscapes. So together they'll share practical insight, real example, and proven strategies that companies are using today to strengthen their planning capabilities. Thank you again for being here. And let's dive right in. And I'd like to hand it over to Sheetal to begin with the webinar. Over to you, Sheetal.
Thank you, Siddhi. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thanks, Anand, as well, for joining us today. From his very busy schedule, he's been able to carve time for this webinar. So I'm hoping all of us would find it useful. And I also welcome all the participants who are joining us from different areas and geography on the session today. So thanks, everyone. Let's look at the agenda first. So what we will be running through in this webinar is the auto component aftermarket industry insights. What are the key drivers? What are the challenges? And how can we handle those challenges? We would also like to discuss how Uno Minda faced multiple challenges, how it benefited from a better planning system. And then we would also like to give an overview of our streamline application. And then we'll also discuss about what are the way forward for Uno Minda. And then we will take Q&A at the end. I would encourage all the participants to ask us as many questions as possible. And please put your questions in the chat or the Q&A button that you would see. We would be able to take up those questions at the end of the session. So happy to be here. So let's jump in and would like Anand to step in and help us give an overview of the automobile and the aftermarket segment. Anand.
Yeah. So good evening, everyone, and thanks Sheetal and team for organizing this real-time sharing of how and all this aftermarket and how this smart planning process has helped Unaminda and overall the aftermarket component. I hope this session will be beneficial for all the participants who are participating, and that will help each business leader to design their own systems in their own industry, whether it's automotive, aftermarket, or any other industry, because the concepts are more or less applicable. Now moving here, if we say about when we say this automotive, we all understand this automotive, the automobile industry, which consists of two-wheeler, three-wheeler, car, commercial vehicle, and tractors. So this constitutes the automotive. Now here, component, when we say whatever the parts being supplied, so we know when we make a car, it's more than 10,000 parts which goes inside a car. So these are being manufactured by a number of companies. So right now, so more than we know globally, it's much larger, millions of companies who actually distribute parts to across OEMs, and from there the car or other automobile vehicles are being made. Now we come to Indian auto component industry. So this is a much larger industry where around 78 billion of US dollar. That's the market size of the Indian automotive industry, which translates to around 6,73,000 crores in FY 25, 24, 25. So that's the kind of industry. But here we have to understand this industry, then translate into whatever the supply is being given to OEMs, which contributes a major chunk on their normal line fitment. Whenever the vehicle is manufactured, these are being supplied. And then it's a larger chunk goes to the export, and aftermarket is the third one which contributes around 15% of the total business. So this last year, if you say this aftermarket, which is around 1 lakh crore of the market, which is 11.6 billion. We have seen during COVID and post-COVID, this aftermarket was growing at a much rapid rate, around 10 to 15%, which has now become the normal equivalent to the GDP growth rate around 6%, 6 to 7%. Last year, it has grown at 6%. And that's the kind of industry which is going on. Currently, it's a 1 lakh crore industry. And when we say this auto component, then we exclude the fast mover, the tire, battery, and lubricant. That's a very bigger industry. And that's been taken separately from this. So moving next to in this about particularly on the aftermarket side. So
I think what we wanted to capture as part of this session is to give an overview of the auto aftermarket industry, specifically in terms of what are the different areas that we need to cover, what are the different product portfolio that we need to look at, what this industry consists of. And I'm sure Anand is going to give us a bit more insight into all this. So let's give him a minute to re-log in again.
Now, am I?
Yeah.
Am
You
I
are
audible?
audible. Yes. Anand,
Sorry,
you are.
something happened. Then this happened.
No
Yeah. Yeah. So we were discussing about this auto component industry, which is around a 1 lakh crore of the size. And then here, this industry last year it has grown at 6%, which I was talking about, where post-COVID, this industry was growing at 10 to 15%. We had a very demand surge, which was happening. There a lot of pent-up demand used to come. And then now industry had stabilized at around 6 to 8%. Last year, it has grown at 6%. Now here, most important thing is all the segments. So two-wheeler, or it's a PV or CV, India is a very big market for all. Now, even with this segment now total park, when we talk about this is around 333 million park, which we call the vehicle on road. So that's a very huge volume, around 33 crore. And all the estimate says by 2030, this number shall move around 435 million, which were around 43 crores of vehicle on the road, on Indian road, and which actually from where the demand for these auto components happen. So this is a much higher one where even globally, if you say, or in Indian manufacturing sector, if we say the automotive industry contributes around 25% of the overall manufacturing sector of India GDP. So this is a much important industry which actually drives the Indian economy. And then it gives a lot of potential for the suppliers or the whole industry to move. It also gives a lot of employment to the Indian working class. And it's a technology which is also coming in this industry. Growing from here now, if you say aftermarket is very interesting to understand. Say the aftermarket, normally when we say it's anything other than the line fitment when the vehicle is manufactured. So that's a line fitment. Once the vehicle is out from the OEM premises, if any parts consumption happen in the market, that's come under aftermarket. Now here this aftermarket is distinctly divided into three different broad areas, where one we call it's a OESPD or OEM Service Centers, distribution centers, which actually if we normally call whether it's a Maruti or Hyundai service centers, or it's a Bajaj, Hero, their service centers, where any thing happens to the vehicle, we go to the OEM authorized service centers, and there the repair happens or the products are being replaced. So there the product demand happens, services and products both are being demanded. That's the larger check. And the second segment, which comes about we call it independent aftermarket, which is basically all tier 1 or tier 2 suppliers, basically the supplier, whoever is supplying to OEMs. So like Anamind is one of the India's leading tier 1 supplier to practically all OEMs in the different segment. And if you find any vehicle on the road, Anamind will be supplying some of the part in this. Now here, this tier 1 player, and they are supplying their parts in the aftermarket, so which we normally get. It's available across country, and these are normally being fitted in the independent aftermarket workshops. And the third is the unorganized, is a player where a lot of local or the Chinese players or the imported parts which come, and there that's also is prevalent in the market. Now here we need to understand how all this industry moves. Say, as per the vehicle life, normally we consider 15 years of a vehicle life. And first 5 years, normally we have seen first 2 to 5 years, it's a highly inclined towards the OEM, which we call OESPD, where the servicing or any repair happens there. And then afterwards, from 5 to 10 to 12 years, it goes to the independent aftermarket. And when the vehicle life is about to at this dead end, last 3 years, 12 to 15 years, then the normally demand happens from these unorganized parts, which are cheaper in the nature, and everyone is looking for hardly 2-3 lives. So these are the inferior in quality, but then still serves the purpose of the customer. That's why all of these three segments exist in this aftermarket, and that's why this industry is thriving.
Thanks, Anand. Thanks for sharing the breakup of the industry as well into three segments. One point that I would like to check with you, is there a change in the trend between and the composition of these three channels? Has it changed from pre-COVID to post-COVID after our tax reforms as well? Probably, if you have some insight, would be good to know.
Yeah, so Sheetal, it's very interesting to understand. So industry is already divided into these three broad categories. And there, if you say pre-COVID, if you say the composition was around where the OESPD, which we call, they used to contribute 30-35%, while the independent aftermarket was the major shareholding, which used to contribute around 40%, and the remaining on the unorganized sector. During COVID, we had seen the major changes because at the time of COVID, the supply side, there were a lot of restrictions. The small manufacturing plant and all, everyone vanished for the few years because it's very difficult. So then OESPD increased its presence, and the aftermarket, independent aftermarket increased for the 2 years. So if I say 21 and 22, so independent aftermarket grew at that point of time a lot. And then because there were supply issues from this unorganized aftermarket. Afterwards, but we had seen the trend in the changes in this trend from 2023. So from 2023 onwards, we have seen where the unorganized player have start coming up because they serve at the fag end of the vehicle where this demand is there for those products, because customers also don't need the quality product which can serve for the 15 years. They need a product which is a smaller life. And that's why from 23 onwards, the unorganized market started coming up. Now the current, it's just a guess estimate where how and all this has moved. So some of the reports and all says now this OESPD that has moved from around 45%, some says 50%, 45 to 50%, that's the share only been taken by the OESPD. While independent aftermarket, which used to contribute earlier 40%, now this has moved to 30-35%, that range it has come. While the remaining unorganized market that is also taken the place. So here it's a very tight tussle goes on between all the three segments. So OEMs have become very active. Now you find all OEMs, whether it's two-wheeler or it's the car or a CV, they wanted to grab this market. And now they have made their products available beyond their own service centers. So earlier, if you say Mahindra vehicle, if you need anything, you used to go to Mahindra workshop. But now these parts are available across aftermarket workshops, independent aftermarket workshops, and there you can find Mahindra products as well as tier 1 supplier product, and as well as the unorganized. So that's the industry composition has changed, and these are the dynamics which keep moving how and all the industry moves. And that's very interesting how all this will take place in next 5 years. By 2030, the predictions is the OESPD will go furthermore, and this will lead to an impact on independent aftermarket. And slowly, with the more modernized car or a more technology-led cars, the unorganized sector might drop. That's some predictions which is going on.
Thanks, Anand. Thanks for sharing this insight. Let's also talk about the kind of products that are part of that basically constitutes the aftermarket auto component segment. So, if you can share some more details, probably if you can touch upon that, that would be great.
Yeah. So as I told, there are more than 10,000 components or the part category which goes in a car. So it's a very wider product segment, the product categories. We even don't understand. For us, it's a single car or single bike. But inside this, there is a lot of technology, a lot of product, a lot of engineering goes on. Now, if you say ACMA, which is a governing body for the auto component manufacturer, it's Auto Component Manufacturer Association. ACMA publishes some report, and they had compiled even more than 1,000 suppliers are registered with ACMA who provide data, and that's why we can rely on their data. Now, ACMA classifies the product category into different segments. So, like we all know, for all of our bike, the engine is a very important part. So anything with engines, that becomes the engine parts, where like cylinders, piston, valve, these all are the category under the engine parts. Next category is about the, say, electrical and electronics category. So earlier it was mostly the electrical category where the starting system, ignition system, starter motor, alternator, we all know, spark plugs, ignition system, this all goes on. But now lately we had seen a lot of change in this segment where now this has vehicle out, no more only mechanical or electrical. Now it's more of electronics, which has increased in last 4 or 5 years. The technology has shifted and more electronics is coming up. And that's how this electrical category has been modified to electrical and electronics, and where electronics contribute a lot. And this technology is giving a lot of impact on the aftermarket or the aftermarket supply chain, which we might be discussing later on. But that's very change which is happening in the industry. The other product component is the transmission and the steering parts. So this is very important, how the vehicle drive. So there we all know the gearbox, clutches, axles, drive axles, and all these are the component which comes under driving, transmission and steering parts. Another important is the suspension and braking. So this shock absorbers, leaf spring, or the complete braking assembly, the brake pads, and all the whole category comes under the braking and the suspension. That's another big category. And then the last one is the last two are the basically equipment one, and where basically accessory parts or like headlights, wipers, on dashboard instruments, which are the instrument which we see and which impact. Now we have seen, if we say the current Mahindra vehicles, they are highly loaded with these equipments. If we say now the interiors, now everyone is talking now. So earlier, if you say 10 years back, everyone was talking about the car when what's the engine is, what the transmission, what's the steering, suspension, that were the point of discussion. But now everything is given. Now this has to be there. Now everyone talks about what the car interior is, or in bike, whatever the features, extra features has been given. And then that's where this complete features like dashboards, how the dashboard looks like. Now it's integrated dash cam or HUD display. So a lot of accessories happening. We all discuss when we go buy car or bike. Then we discuss what are the accessories, what are the interiors, how the bike is looking like. So bike has now no more only a functional product. It's a more of aesthetics, or it's a personality enhancement product, car. And also that's why we see if I'm driving somewhere, how it's looking like, what are the features. Now we are also looking upon where the car and all is moving more of a itself experience like a home. Now we all travel a lot. The cities and all have expanded. Everyone has to travel 1.5 to 2 hours to reach to their office and all. So now car has been, now it's a second home to everyone. And that's why the whole changes and technology has happened. And that's why the more electronics has come up. While the conventional parts, which is the sheet metal and the pressure, like casting parts or glass and rubber parts, these are always there, which are required in the. So overall industry classifies auto component 6 bigger industry. Each of this category itself is a bigger one. So like engine parts, drive transmission, suspension, electrical electronics, these all contribute a larger chunk, while the other ones is a smaller in the overall category side.
Thanks, Anand. In fact, one of the points that you've highlighted here is how consumer preference is changing from engine and then the quality and the build of the car and the vehicle to more of interior, how the looks are, how the comfort is within the car. So let's also discuss some of the drivers for this industry. What's changing and what are the key drivers within the industry as well for our audience?
Yeah, so as I was saying, industry has seen a lot of change. If we all remember the 90s or before 90s, there was only two car Fiat and Ambassador. Then we moved to the Suzuki era or a Maruti era, where the first 10 years are mostly Maruti. And then 2000 onwards, it's where the Indian automotive industry has seen a major changes. In India, also the technology has also come from across, mostly from the Japanese companies. Indian dominance is over the Japanese OEM manufacturer, and then the German manufacturer, and very few in the American and other manufacturer. Although that's the way the Indian automotive industry is run. But if you say last 25 years, it's a major transition which has happened in the automotive industry, and most particularly last 5 years. Post-COVID, the industry has seen a major changes, and where industry has more moved towards how, or I will say, the more demand and more customer centricity. And that's if we say now India, if you say in terms of volume, now India has become the third largest automotive market by both value and volume. Here in tractors, we have become the number one. Two-wheeler, we are number two, and then CV segment number three. Is this way the India is having all the segments. We are in top three, top four. Only in PV we are in four, which we are about to become number three in the PV as well. So India will become the very larger market in terms of number of vehicle, as we were discussing about the park. That's why our park is around 33 crores of park vehicles on road. That's a very heavy hyper from the standards. Earlier we do not have. Although if you compare with the European market and all, so park will still be, so car and all park will be lower, but since two-wheeler we have a very high volume. So India, that's why the park becomes very substantial. Now we have seen last 5 years trend. If we see, like now consumers have becoming increasingly very aware. So now the new Gen Z, or if I say the age group 24 to 35, that segment is very different. And COVID has in fact given them to have the more social media awareness, or the on their mobile, everything is now available, or AI mode. So they are very much aware how and all their vehicle is, what their vehicle need, what kind of parts, what the brand, everything. Now they are searching. So now we have seen a lot of social media stuff. Organizations are also moving, and consumers are trying to be aware. If anything a critical part, consumers do a research how and all what the thing. And we have seen earlier it was nothing, but now in the new last 4 or 5 years, we have seen consumers demand which brand they want, what product they want. So that's the kind of awareness it has happened. And that's why we all feel the demand for the organized brands is increasing day by day. And that's why either the first preference goes to the OESPD, as I was saying, and then the independent aftermarket. So these all are going on. That's the industry shift is happening. Similarly, we've also seen the new trend like this pre-owned vehicle. So now the vehicle, if you see last 2-3 years, the vehicle price has also got very high. Earlier, if you say the Maruti, we used to call it a 2 lakh or 3 lakh rupee car that was available. Now there is no car which is available at that price. Now even if any chance, if you want to buy a normal, the price which is price level has moved, maybe it's become double whatever the category you are in. So earlier it's a 5 lakh car, now that has become 10 lakh. The car has also become increasingly costly. But then the buying power of customer has also increased. But again, the young generation who cannot afford to have this high valued car, they go for this pre-owned vehicle, the second-hand vehicle. That's why we all know this Penny and all that has come a very fine Maruti True Value. Every company has this one. This pre-owned vehicle is doing perfectly fine, and this is actually where customers are very much interested. The customization is happening in this, and then this refurbishment of this vehicle is also happening. And then whatever, if there are some issue, those changes happens, and then this generates a lot of demand for auto component in the market, particularly in the aftermarket. We have also seen in terms of technology, if we see, so we know in 2020 BS6 got implemented in country due to the pollution norms, and from there the BS6 technology is very different. So that we have seen BS4 till BS4 engine and all that servicing can happen with the local workshops or local mechanic. They can do, they know how to do. But as we have moved with BS6 technology, it's a complete different technology which without knowing or understanding of this one, the diagnosis is not possible. Similarly, that's why it's very important how and all the things move. Here, we have also seen post last 3-4 years. Now consumers, they are demanding new features in their car, as we were discussing here. That's why the term which has now been termed like PACE, which we call it's a personalized. So now consumers are looking for a personalized vehicle. If you see some of the example, I can quote like when in MG car we enter, it says, "Hello, Mr. Anand." So that's the kind of personalization it's doing. Even when we adjust our driver seat or co-driver seat, so it keep in its memory and it only checks who is the driver, and then accordingly it adjusts the seat by itself. That's the kind of personalization is happening. There are a lot of examples which is happening in this area. Sorry. Similarly, in terms of autonomous, A stands for autonomous, which is very prevalent in developed world. Now it is coming in India, which we also know the self-driving car. So India, its adoption is still low. It's a time which will take, but still we are seeing now ADAS level 2, which is already there in the market, where the self-parking can happen. So earlier parking used to be a challenge. Now you put a command and the vehicle will self-park. That's a level even now it's happening in India. Going forward, the self-driving car where everything happens, the autonomous driving, that's still some years to go in India, while it's prevalent in developed world. CS stands for the connected. Now everyone wants to be connected with the internet inside. Now, if you say even all the cars have the SIM card and the internet is connected all across the cars, and with this, wherever you are, your geolocation, geofencing, or diagnosis or any issue with the car, every information available on your app. And that's Android or Apple CarPlay. So these are very prevalent, and through that, a lot of companies, every company has connected, like Suzuki Connect or Honda Connect. Everyone have their own connected device, and through that, the vehicle is connected, and customers are using it. And E stands for electrification, where the vehicle is growing, is increasingly moving towards EV adoption. Now we know in India, the three-wheeler vehicles, around 50% vehicles are EV in the three-wheeler. Well, similarly, the two-wheeler and the car, that's it. Also, adoption is happening, but car is still it's slow. Hardly it's a 1-2% whereas adoption is happening. But it's estimated by 2030 or so, this shall increase much. Even two-wheeler, three-wheelers shall be around 45-50% EV bikes shall be on the road, or shall be producing, not on road, shall get produced. Well, car, it will still take some time for the higher region to happen. So with this trend and technology happening, it's very important for auto component industry or auto component suppliers. How can we connect better with the retailers and mechanics? Now, so that's very, very important. That's why each companies are looking for how the distribution channel. Now we know in aftermarket there is a very prevalent. It's a three-tiered distribution channel where all the manufacturing companies, they supply to a distributor. From distributor it goes to retailer, and from retailer it goes to workshop or mechanic or garages. So that's a complete three-tier market. And here again, the requirement and all is varying a lot. So earlier, if you say diagnosis, if you say, so the expectations, customer expectations also changed. And that's why each company is working on building how can we have a better presence available for this segment.
That's right. So thanks, Anand. Thanks for sharing these points. Some of these are quite interesting to know that how shifts are happening in the industry. And what we would like to now do is understand from our audience what are the challenges that they face in their industry. If you can please put your comments in the chat, it would be great. It would be good to know what kind of challenges that you face with respect to product or changing trends or related to supply chain planning. We'd be keen to know that. So you can use the chat button. And we'll take a pause for a few seconds. You can continue to type in. We would be, happy to run through some of the challenges that you may have. Okay. All right. Let these points flow in, and let's also discuss with Anand what are the typical challenges that we can, that automotive aftermarket industry faces. Anand, if you can take some of these points, let's discuss them.
Yeah, so as you were discussing earlier, so before we move, so it's very important, as Sheetal has told, you all please put forward your thoughts or your challenges, whatever you all are facing in your businesses. So that will help us understand if we can add any value on that. Yeah. Now coming to this, like challenges which the automotive industry, I was saying, now industry is in transition phase. As consumer demand is increasing, the car, as I was saying, everyone is now looking for it shall be my second home. So car needs a lot of personalization, as we're talking about the pace here, the IC to EV transition. Now we have seen the developed world has gone very high. Now that's around 80-90% vehicle are already EV adopted. While India is still it's a low in number, but then this transition things are moving. Now here, this is the challenge for aftermarket as well. Now, say in Indian aftermarket, still the demand for this EV parts and all are not yet known. How the distribution will take place, still it has to be seen because the vehicles are very new now. Right now, these vehicles are still with the OESPD where it's going to the OE service centers. But however, if you see, we all know Ola has sold a very high number. They were selling very good number. They were number one for last 2.5 years in the two-wheeler vehicle space. Now, Ola has sold the vehicle. Now, recent their promoters article have come where now he has admitted that Ola, which are doing very good now, that has impacted their sales currently. The major reason is the non-serviceability of Ola vehicles in the aftermarket because they somehow their service networks, that's some limitation which is there, and their products are not available in aftermarket. And that's one of the reason which is hampering the growth of Ola vehicle sales. So that's very important that during this transition, how and all the aftermarket shapes, how the products are being available. Here also very important is, and if you say now this vehicle, if you say this, I talked about the EV vehicle. Now, if you say the BS6, so now BS6 is already we implemented in 2020. Now it's around 5 years is already there. Now we have a sufficient park on the road, and these are now coming out from the OESPD as well. Now they need the aftermarket. Now here we have seen this BS6 vehicle need the onboard diagnostic OBD devices. Without that, diagnosis cannot happen. So only with the experience candidate, there this OBD device need to be put, and then the software is there which read whatever the error code, and then according this can be happening. So this is all we need to look upon. This is the new era of the repairs which will be required for the more advanced electronic fitted vehicle, or it's BS6 vehicle, or it's EV. This all are very transition is happening. So next 5 years will be very challenging for the aftermarket because the park of this BS6 vehicle will further increase. The EV vehicle will also be there. The advanced electronics vehicle is there where a lot of sensors and controllers are there. And there, how and all those servicing need to be done, that's a very, very challenging. And that's why the expectation is the OESPD will have a much better advantage in this. However, we have seen with the summary of Ola and others, only OESPD cannot serve the market. We know Maruti is more uh, demanded in the market because its parts are available and it's a very widespread aftermarket. And that's the advantage where Maruti has sold and maintained their legacy or number one position in this country. That's why it's very, very important how the products are being available at the retail counter. Now, if you say what has happened, now the consumer, since they are also aware, and car or bike becomes their day-to-day commutation process. So here, they also, if anything happens to their vehicle, they want hardly a day or two. That's all. If it's a major one, then it's 2 days. Otherwise, in the same day, if they give the vehicle morning, evening, the vehicle must be ready. They can't afford more than that. And that's why the customer's expectation is very short turnaround. The service repairs will happen. And that puts a lot of pressure on the workshops, garages, and the complete supply chain of this automotive parts. Now here, earlier, let's say there was a time, so you diagnose the vehicle and then you got, okay, these parts are required. Then you can get these parts from some other location as well. If 200, 500 kilometers, you can get the parts in a day or two, and then you can repair the vehicle. But now, since the customer expectations has increased, they want the faster fixing of their vehicle. So these parts need to be available at the nearby city, in the same city, or to the retail counter. From there, workshops can straight away buy the product. So whenever they diagnose, understand this product is required, this need to be available at the retail counter. And from there, the workshops buy the product and put in the car. So that's the challenge for all of the auto component manufacturers. How can we have availability of these products? Further, we have also seen that's why this shifting is happening. Earlier, one central location you have a parts, and as per the demand, so maybe capital city parts are available, and whenever they're demanded, it can move across state. But now we need to have a parts available in the close to the market, in the tier 2, tier 3 cities. We need to be ensure that our products are available, and this is putting a lot of pressure on the complete supply chain and the demand planning, how and all things are happening. Similarly, lately we have also seen the change in the vehicle. Say earlier, one vehicle used to have 8 years. We all know Honda City; it's a very longer life. So there's a longer life vehicle. But now what is happening? Within 2 to 5 years, the vehicle is being changed. Some facelift model will happen. So the average life of vehicle which has gone down to hardly 2 to 5 years, and then some changes happen. And with this, a lot of MOQs are required. A lot of parts are required to be kept because each vehicle needs a different parts. Somewhere it's common, but mostly it's a different part. So that's a more number of SKUs need to be kept at the retail counter. And this has further complicated the thing. Now one position, the tier one companies need to have the parts available in the tier two, tier three, tier four cities, while also the more number of SKUs need to be there in the market. And that's the complexity where we are working upon. That's why the supply chain challenges has increased. Similarly, with this more number of vehicle or the model changes, also the changes happened on the minimum order quantity. So this is the classic challenge which happens across manufacturing and marketing, where any manufacturing plant always wants to produce in bulk. So some 10,000 quantity, 10, 20,000 quantity, that's a manufacturing plant produces. While the demand is one quantity and that has to be fulfilled in a particular tier 3 or tier 4 city. Now that's the supply chain from manufacturing plant to reaching to the consumer location where the servicing is happening. That's the biggest challenge. And that's why uh, with this, everyone wants the lower MOQ, everyone wants to give one or two quantities, and then the breaking the bulk becomes more promising. And here also with the margins being spread, we cannot add a more channel or which can normally eat away the margins and all. So that's why with this 3-channel, when the work is going on, how can we have a 2-channel or only 1 channel where the e-commerce companies will directly started supplying the part and having these 2 channels gone away. So with this is the another complexity which has happened in the supply chain process. Similarly, we have seen like all the seasons or festivals, like say right, just the Sara Diwali, this season has gone off. During this period, the demand for the product changes drastically. Now, this season changes sometimes it happens in November, sometimes in October, and this led to very high fluctuation in the demand. And then any past model doesn't work in this. So that's the one channel we are facing. Similarly, there are a lot of products which are seasonal in nature. So as we know, wiper blades, these are demanded in the rainy season. So fog lamps, which will be required in the winter season. Tractor has their very distinct season as per the rain, how and all the rain happens across country. So like southern market will have a winter's rain, while northern market will have a monsoon rain during that period. So that's the part demand changes, and that's highly erratic. The monsoon is highly erratic. Accordingly, tractor parts being demanded. So these all seasonal parts only with the basic understanding of the past data. This was very, very difficult, and that another challenge which comes in this. Further, we have also seen, say, our government is also doing this GST or the tax reforms, which has, so whenever such thing happens, so recently we have seen this year Diwali where the major GST reform happened and the 28, where the earlier the auto components were mostly at 28%. Now those all have been abolished. Now it has come to 18%. Whenever such tax reform happen, the demand pattern changes like anything. So announcement happens, then everyone wants to have the lean inventory. So the distribution or retail segment, they will have a lean inventory. And once this reform happens, implementation date happens, then everyone the sudden demand happens and the pent-up demand start coming up. Now, manufacturing plant cannot build their capacity according to this surge in the demand. And that's why this we have seen very, the situation, this we had seen in 17 when the GST was implemented, whenever such changes happened, and recent we had seen high fluctuation in the demand during this period, lean and then the pent-up demand. For that, if the system is very smart and understand this thing, then only we can ensure the ability of the products. Otherwise, it's a big chaos in the market and ultimately leading to a loss of the market. So these are some of the major challenges which we have faced or the industry is facing in general. Yeah.
That's right. Thanks, Anand. Thanks for sharing some of these points in so much detail. I'm sure these are not just the only challenges that the auto aftermarket industry faces, but there are a whole bunch of other challenges as well. What we would like to do next is, since we touched upon the last topic, which was tax reform or how the GST had resulted in a severe impact on maintaining of lean inventory, and then suddenly the pent-up demand would sort of put pressure on the manufacturing side. So, would like to understand from people who have joined us, was your business impacted by the recent GST reforms? So there are three options. If you can put it in the chat, one is no impact. B, the first one, option A, it means there was no impact on your business. Option B indicates that there was a high impact. Option C indicates that it was manageable as only few products were impacted. So we're in touch with a lot of people from different industry, and they have their own different takes depending on which industry they are in or what kind of products they have. So the impacts have been either significant or there is no impact or it was, manageable. So would like to see if, how it was for you guys as well. So if you can take a few seconds and put it in the chat, that would be great. We'll move to the next question, which is how did you address in your organization the GST tax reform impact? As Anand had mentioned, that there was a severe, instance of no demand from the customer for a significant period of time. But post the GST implementation, there was a pent-up demand, and then this factor needs to be cleaned up in the data as well, right? It's not just that it happened. So how would you go about managing it, not just in the recent time, but also next year? We will have to look at how do we erase this impact of GST tax reform. Would like to understand how did you guys manage it at your end, or if you still have questions, or if you would want to share probably any peculiar situation that you faced in your company, feel free to put that in the chat as well. We'll be happy to understand. Okay, we'll take a few seconds and then we'll move to the next section. The next section is what challenges Uno Minda faced, and we'll discuss some of these points in more detail. We would want to understand, and Anand, we remember when we were, collaborating last year, there were a lot of points that we had discussed. So let's, discuss them in more detail for the larger forum as well.
Yeah. So we said till now we are discussing about how the industry is, the industry normal, the trends, the growth drivers, then the challenges, how the industry in general with the new technology and the new trends which is happening. Now, mostly this is section will focus mostly on the Uno Minda, how and all we have faced and how what were the issues, and then we solved it. Now, say if we say traditionally at Uno Minda we are a substantial auto component player, mostly in electronics, and then we have expanded into other segment as well. We had entered into the equipment section. We have entered a lot in other segment also. We have entered, and we have seen some transmission and braking system, braking and suspension. We have also entered. So with this, we have substantially grown in last 7 to 8 years. And what has happened? So this led to more SKUs. So I remember one reference point, which is say 16, 17, where we have around 2,500 SKUs. Now we have moved to 7,000 SKUs. Now we have added more part numbers. As I was saying, this is all the result of either the new product line addition or even the new vehicles which has been introduced by the OEMs, and even the model upgrades. As you were saying, the facelift model and facelift, the lighting changes. And then in this, more SKUs need to be presented in the market because you need to present the complete range. Now we launched the product, ensured this product, so that's fine. But this large number of SKUs has given us a challenge to manage how and all this need to be done. So manually we used to do, and then it was very difficult. Here if we say how we have seen, so earlier we had when the SKUs are very low, we had our product managers, they used to have their based on past data, they see few months data, and then based on that some judgmental method was going on, and that's used to practice in 17, 18. And then we realized this led to a very high order loss. Around 8 to 10% of sales was getting orders. We have an order, but we could not service where we do not have a stock. And that is only at the primary level. If we monitor at the secondary and tertiary, this losses will be much, much higher. And then the classic challenge happens whenever this demand happens. So any aftermarket company, now we have to ensure the products need to be available at the retail counter. Now their manufacturing plant also they also have a supply lead time, no manufacturing lead time if I say. So normally 3 to 6 months is the non-standard lead time. Otherwise, also it's a 1 to 2 months if it's available in domestic raw material. So any this planning and all this requires 2 months of advance information. So if you say if we have to from manufacturing plant or the raw material planning from at the manufacturing plant to the insulin reliability at the retail counter or when the demand will happen. So there is a big difference in this, and that's the major challenge we have. So we need to given our indent requirement or our planning, our requirements. So yeah.
Yeah. Anand, you are there, right? Okay, seems like he dropped. Okay, are you back, Anand? Okay, seems like there's a bit of drop here. Let us give a minute for Anand to join as well, rejoin as well. The interesting point is that we were in discussion with the Unomida team along with Anand, who was leading this project, where they had faced these numerous challenges of rising number of SKU lists to manage and the order losses and the predictions using Excel-based modeling. Anand, feel free to jump in if you're back. I was just touching upon some of these points. Are you there? Okay. Seems like he is. Harish, you are able to hear me, right?
Yeah, Sheetal, I'm able to hear you.
Okay. All right. So as I was saying that we were in discussion with the Unomida team in terms of the overall challenges last year. Yeah, Anand, are you back now? You are on mute, is it? I can't hear you.
No, he's not. He's just, we are unable to hear his voice.
Yeah, something's happened, Anand. We can't hear your voice. Mhm. We are not able to hear your voice again. Okay. Let's give Anand another minute to join in. I'm sure he will join in back. These are some of the technology issues and challenges that we also face, apart from the business challenges that are typically there in the market. But then some of the points that Anand had highlighted and we had discussed during our conversation was the opportunity loss that they had. The good thing about Unomida when we were working with them was the amount of data and the information that was available. Just a second. Seems like Anand is calling me. Hey, Anand.
Sheetal, you're on mute.
Yeah. So Anand is there with me on mobile. He can see the video in the sense the presentation. So we'll let Anand speak. So Hari, just let us know if you are also able to hear Anand. No worries.
No, Sheetal, no, I can't hear. I can't.
Okay.
The voice is breaking and it's not clear.
On this, how the challenge is happening, where we have to give our planning to the manufacturing plant that we have to consider in advance if it's a finishing process, 6 months in advance if it's an imported item. While the demand at the consumer end, it will be known after 2-3 months.
of the supply. So this is a bigger lead time, which all need to be balanced. So that's the one area which was a major issue, how I became the index, and that's why we always classify our order loss into two terms. So one is the opportunity loss, where we could not forecast due to wrong forecasting. We had given lower demand to the plant, and but we got a higher demand from the market. So that we call as opportunity loss. Second is the intent loss, where we have placed a demand to the unit, but somehow due to long supply chain, at time or on the unavailability, the plant could not supply. So this will calculate the total order loss, and then this was around 8 to 10% of our total sales before this Anamind system was there. And here, in fact, we tried a lot of Excel-based modeling. So Excel-based forecasting model we had implemented. Then we also tried to use some normalization factor, and then we tried to have some factor, and then we made some variable we put in the system in Excel, some 8-10 different variables we put to have this predictive demand forecasting and a predictive technology. But still, somehow this improved. But with the more SKUs coming up, we were very much challenging with this Excel-based modeling. And during COVID, we have seen it's a major demand that changed, where only the fastener parts were required, and then and that took pent-up demand, and while others were not being demanded. So that's the one area which impacted. This all led to either order loss or higher inventory at our end. So we had maybe the aging inventory, so we forecasted wrong. We asked for the plant, they supplied us, and then the wrong inventory at our level as well as to our distribution and the retail channel. And that's the major issue which we faced before the system we talked about and we implemented this one. So these are the major issues which we faced.
Yeah. Thanks, Anand. So what we would like to do next is also I'll take a minute over here and would like to discuss that, Anamind and Anamind, we all sat together, we understood the challenges, we worked with the team in terms of figuring out, how can we address some of these challenges better? How can we help Anamind reduce the order losses or the opportunity losses by a significant margin, at least to a large extent? And we realized that Anamind can benefit from a solution like Streamline, which is AI ML based, and I'll give a detailed intro there as well. But what we noticed that within 6 months of implementation, and Anand, you can jump in as well, we saw a significant improvement in the overall supply chain and the issues that we have highlighted over here. So let's dive into what are the benefits that Anamind got or achieved using a better planning system like Streamline.
Sheetal, we can't hear him.
Demand forecasting and the indenting model. And afterwards, once we understood and then we implemented it, first few months was where the kind of data we have, then channelize it as per the system. How can we I say the data cleaning part and all, so that we can get better insight. And then we were able to implement in the system. And first 2 months, if I say, that was a stabilization period where we need to understand, and there was a lot of variables which we need to be understood and tweaked. And then we formed the inventory policy. What will be the inventory policy? So there was no challenge in the demand forecasting. But the challenge was, even the demand forecasting was correct, the indent planning was going wrong. Then we completed this inventory policy, and with this we were able to correct our inventory planning as well. And this all led to around, we had seen now we have implemented more than a year. And in 1 year we have seen, as I explained, the opportunity loss, where we could not forecast and we used to give the lower indent to the plant. And once the lower indent is given, the plant cannot supply. They will supply whatever indent has been given. That's the opportunity loss we have. So this all opportunity loss, there is around 70% of reduction has happened in opportunity loss in last 1 year. That's a massive benefit for us in terms of sales loss. So they have reduced this amount. Further, we have also seen in terms of aging inventory. So earlier with the wrong forecasting, we used to have a wrong indenting, and then the parts which are available in a warehouse that's unnecessary keeping the inventory, and those becomes the aging one. Now with this, we have reduced our aging inventory by 10 to 15%. So here, in fact, our philosophy is always to have a higher sales, so we keep the inventory, and then sometimes we are okay with the aging inventory, but then we want the sales not to lose. So that's why we are mostly working on getting the sales and reducing the order losses. Similarly, we have also seen the major advantage in terms of, say, man-hour. So earlier we used to spend around 100 man-hour in a month for this complete forecasting and then planning and indenting to the plant. We source from more than 30 plants. So we have to give indent to all of these 30 plants, and that we used to give indent twice in a month because that's required for the raw material planning. Each time our team used to work very detailed and review and follow-up and approvals used to happen, which used to take around 100 man-hour in a month. Now that has reduced to hardly 35-40 man-hours in a month that we are able to manage with the system. That's the bigger relief, and also the accuracy has also improved. And that's why with this, the indent planning has improved and the overall indent loss has reduced. Further, when we are making budget for this financial year, 25-26, so the system has helped us a lot based on the past data, what and all the demand will be for each of the products. So for the budget planning and the machine capacity building, capacity planning, we need the annual demand, how and all this changes, peak demand and the minimum demand in a month, accordingly capacity need to be built. So this in our annual costing as well as the capacity building at the manufacturing plant, this module has helped us a lot. Accordingly, we know the peak demand, in which month the peak demand is going to happen. Either we build the inventory before or we expand the capacity. So with this has helped a lot, and also across this SKU, how and all the demand will happen month to month. Now here we have also bifurcated. Our sales budget is very different than the purchase budget. So whatever the sales will happen, that is one story, and whatever the purchase we need to do, that's for the manufacturing plant, that's a different one. With this streamlined solution, we are able to bifurcate these two. Earlier, we used to have with control, we used to manage purchase and sales. Now it's totally different. And we have also learned during this process, the purchase planning need to be done 1 month before. Whenever the peak happens for the sales, say the peak for the sales is December, so the purchase peak becomes in November because we need to keep inventory in the month of November only. We need to place an order so that the inventory is available in December and that meets the peak demand of December. So that's some learning which we have in the last 1 year, and that's why it has really helped us. And I'm sure this will further be very, very helpful in going forward. And this will be the way. And for others who were listening, that's a very beautiful tool which has really helped us. And I'm sure if implemented in true sense, this will really help. Yeah.
Thank you, Anand. Thanks for the insights. And we are also glad to see Minda benefiting from an application like that. To give an overview to our audience of Streamline, Streamline is a powerful application from a company called as GMDH Software. We are their official representative here in India. This system uses AI-based algorithms. It uses their whole bunch of parameters. In the interest of time today, I would like to take additional 5 minutes. If you're all okay, I'll take additional 5 minutes to run through the remaining portion of the session as well. So Streamline has been used globally, has been available in 35 plus countries. As I said, it helps in faster implementation. For example, with Uno Minda, we were able to also see the results within 6 months. And something that's quite important for all of us to know that a system which is quite robust, where it uses AI-based algorithm, it uses ML technique, it uses engines to predict the trends more accurately, and also the seasonal impact more accurately. Along with that, it helps you generate your inventory or indent plan in almost no time. So there are different areas which it covers, starting from demand forecasting to inventory planning to material planning. So all of the area can be covered, and the solution can integrate with the ERP as well. So typically, this is how the information flows in Streamline, which is we have masters, we can feed in masters, my historical sales data, my inventory norms. System looks at this information and then it corrects the outliers, events, and then apply the ML model as well. Now with this, we can see that there is a statistical forecast that the system generates, and on top of it, there is a collaboration that happens from different team members. The final forecast is generated. This final forecast is then netted off against the stock which is already available, the different parameters for stocking that we have, the order frequencies taken into account to determine what should be my safety stock, what should be my further order to my plant or to the mother warehouse, for example. So this is how the information flows into Streamline. Just to take an additional minute, I will probably present to you the Streamline application very quickly. Now, this is the screen of Streamline where we can see all the different product categories. The products are being classified under different categories. And then we can drill down very easily. If I, for example, want to look at headlight, within headlight, I would like to look at the car or the headlamp within car. And then I would like to look at the product. Now, this product is being sold from 4 different regional warehouses and is being serviced from my mother warehouse. Similarly, we have these different locations. Now, if I select this particular product and a north location, I can see how my sales are. So I can see what my selling pattern is. Now, this product is quite seasonal in nature, and we can see that the seasonal spikes are also present. And Streamline has been able to predict these seasonal spikes as well. So it's using the AI-based models to generate forecasts. There are a bunch of models available. There are options where system looks at your stock situation and predicts that was there any shortages in the past which needs to be corrected. So it automatically identifies that. It also gives you an opportunity. For example, we had the tax reform in September, so we can ignore certain data period from our data as well. So it's just with a click of button, it would ignore that month's sales. But it has previous year sales data for the same period to determine what sort of numbers we should be anticipating in the next year in September. And then there are these holidays, festivals, promotions, all of that data that we can feed into the application. Along with that, we can look at demand sensing approach as well for especially for products which have very short lead times. Now with this, system calculates that I have a demand of 507 unit. That's the statistical forecast that has come in. It then calculates, do we have any days of supply? Now against 507, I have only 39 units of inventory, and it says that I do not have sufficient days of supply to cover my demand. I have to ship to my customer certain units because I have a confirmed order. I do not have anything in transit as of now. My lead time, even though is short, which is 5 days, I would still lose out on sales, which is the shortage. So this is where we can create certain exceptions in the application, and it gives us the number very visibly in the application that this is probably the order loss that we may face because I already have a open order from the customer as well. That's quite important. And then order cycle, that we can place order every 7 days. So it gives me the ordering plan, which Anand was also talking about, that how much order do I have to place in the current month and also in the following month. This is something that we can share with our suppliers. Now, this plan is something that we can break it on a weekly basis if you would want, or we can break it as per the day on a daily basis as well. So if you would want, we can look at a week-wise number, or the raw list had the day-wise information as well. So this is where I would get to see the detail as to each week, how much do I have to, purchase, how much I will be purchasing from my suppliers or manufacturers. So this is the list that I can export and send it out to my customers. There are a whole bunch of dashboards and reports available, which is user created, and we can look at how we can go about managing the areas by exceptions. So there are a lot of filters that can be created. We can create a filter and say that I want to review the products where there is a shortage. So I can very easily create some of these filters. Is this less than 0? And I can just simply say shortage. So when I create this kind of filter, it allows me to just look at the product where there would be shortage. Okay, I should have mentioned it as greater than 0. So hence it's probably not showcasing anything. It's greater than 0. Let's see. Yeah, so we can see all the product where there is a shortage that we can anticipate. So these are the products that I would want to review. So that's the power and capability of streamline application. So let's jump in back to the presentation and the webinar and look at what additional that we can do further with say, for example, Unamita. Anand, are you there? Are you back now? If not, we would.
No, I am there.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Anand. I am there. Yeah. Yeah. So way forward, if you say, so as I was saying, so last 1 year, more than 1 year now, we have worked on this streamline solution. Our team is also trained. So my product managers, along with the program manager, both work together. Anamind team has helped us to replicate or build the models or have the systems in flow. And then any major issues we face, that's always being resolved by them. So that's very well, it is going on at our end. Way forward, if I see, right now we have say most dependence is how the data and all is there. So luckily we had a data till primary level. So that's why we had given the 7-year data, and then we excluded the COVID period and the GST reforms and all those periods we excluded. And then we got a very good trend, and then according to forecasting and then leading to the intent planning. However, the next challenge, as I was saying, in the industry trend, which is moving now with the new consumer demand and all the products need to be available at the retail counter. So now we are building a system where the data becomes available for the stock or the consumption at the retail level. Once we have that data, that's a secondary where the major demand happens. So with this data build-up, we are very much hopeful with this one and having this streamlined system. So our forecasting and this accuracy will become much, much better. And even right now, we are only handling order loss we have reduced at our level and our distributor level. Now with the retail data ability, I'm sure we will able to meet the demand of the retailers, which will actually catering to the workshops and garages. So we have more than 70,000 retailers at our end. So that's we are prioritizing how and all the data is being built. And then accordingly, the systems will help us. That's the way forward I'm looking for. Further, also one other very interesting idea which we have discussed. Now we are working on that with the Sheetal and team, where the system gives a very good demand elasticity and other pattern. So now with this elasticity, now we know if I give something, if I do any market intervention, then the demand of that product can increase or decrease. So with this elasticity parameters, we're working on how and all the market activations or some schemes or shall be designed, which will help us in the sales maximization or the profit maximization or optimization. So that way we are working on the different models and all. So that's the way ahead where now this forecasting and all this has been done. That's the next area where how can I maximize my sales? That's the main objective. So first is the ensuring ability at the retail counter that will straight away fulfill the demand of the market. And the second, if I intervene and do some marketing activities or market activations, how it can help me in increasing my sales. These are the two major areas which we are working right now. There will be multiple which will come going forward, and this will come. But these two we are working currently, and I'm hopeful the things will move and help us in increasing our sales.
Thanks, Anand. And in fact, I would say that Unamid has been one of the organizations where we have seen that the data is available to be able to do this kind of analysis. That's pretty great, and would be happy to discuss the way forward as well and work with you in future. I would like to open it up for Q&A and would like to take only one question, Anand, because in the interest of time, we are already quite above. Yeah. But there are a few questions in terms of, say, for example, how are the automotive? We have one question, which is how are automotive suppliers managing demand and supply chain complexity as EV parts and traditional ICE components follow completely different demand patterns and the number of parts involved would drastically reduce. So would like to understand from you your views, or if you have a different opinion, and if you can answer this question, that would be great.
Yeah. So we were discussing a lot on this IC to EV transition. Now we know for the IC engines and all the parts availability is there. We have only seen the challenges from the BS6 or the CNG or the some more advanced technology, which is only posing the more SKUs need to be there. Or we've also seen the servicing those or the how the diagnostic or the repair, this all becomes some more challenging. So that's on the IC side. But with EV coming up, we have seen the Indian aftermarket still it's a lower one. So EV right now it is only at the OESPD, so parts are available at OESPD, and we know all this OESPD center, the diagnostic and all, they have a very beautiful system. So the vehicle is coming, the diagnosis happens through this OBD devices, and then the parts consumptions come to know these are the fault and this is the part required, and equally parts are being replaced. But when we come to aftermarket, the ability of this diagnostic and the diagnostic based product suggestion and the ability of those products is still a challenge for the EV products. But here, if we say here, if we classify EV into two categories, so say EV has also other conventional other parts, like say their light, switches, on. These all the normal mirror. These are not changed. These are the remaining same. Only from IC, the engine parts, as we have seen, there are 6 different segments. Only the engine part has shifted from engine to the EV parts, where the battery and this is a converter, motor, charger, a lot of things, the electric parts are there. That's another area where a lot of training or the knowledge sharing session are required. Here, along with ACMA and the government bodies, we all are working on how can we educate more to the workshops or independent aftermarket workshops and garages, where they become more understand the technical nuances of these EV parts. And with this training one, even OEMs are also supporting, the government is supporting. With this, the knowledge on these mechanics need to improve, garages, and then ability of these parts. And that's why the new suppliers like Bajaj, TVS, and they are very much working on how to ensure the parts, and they should not have the history of Ola. So that's why everyone is very much working on. Even auto component tier one companies, we are also working on how and all we can spread. If you see, we have seen the changes in battery swapping and how the charging system is there. Now we have seen a lot of chargers are there at the petrol pump. So either it's a car or two-wheeler, you will find, and the fast chargers are also coming up, which can charge in say 10 to 30 minutes, and that's why you are ready to move. So that's the whole technology is coming up. BYD has come up with a very good technology in this. A lot of 8 to 10 companies has come in this battery charging solutions or the battery swapping solutions. So these all are as per the market is coming up. This is going up. A lot of things need to be learned how the developed world or the China has happened. Similarly, the things will happen in India, but India had its own style of developing the markets. So India will have a unique EV adoption is history. Only we can learn from the other industry, but then how when this market goes, accordingly, each player need to go. Yeah.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you so much for taking out your time and sharing the knowledge and wisdom with all of us on this industry. We are so glad and fortunate to have you here. And team, if any of you have any questions further, we would get back to you. We'll take up these questions and we'll get back to you. You can also reach out to us at sheetal@anamind.com. You can directly reach out to me, and we would be happy to join you over a call, understand your challenges, and see how we can support you better. So feel free to reach out to us. But thank you so much for the session today and for joining us. Happy to be part of the session. Thank you, Anand, and thank you, team, for being on the session.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Sheetal.
Yeah.